Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this episode. Shaun Brewster and Bodine Ledden with you as per usual. Bo, today we're going to talk about something that's pretty close to our hearts, which is the CPE game. And this episode's called CPE Buyer Beware. Now, everyone in the health industry has to do ongoing continuing professional education every year to maintain their association memberships, registration, and so on. But what a lot of people don't realize or maybe recognize is that the whole CPE industry, all of the people out there doing the stuff like us, like what we're doing, is unregulated. And for the most part, no one's keeping watch on quality, which is a bit scary, right?
Yeah, it's something that everyone invests a lot of money into, and you want to make sure that it is high quality and up to date, current evidence-based approaches to what we do in clinical practice. So, yeah, I mean, it is scary that anyone can create a course and deliver professional development courses, um, and that can lead to all sorts of claims and a number of different things that go on in the education space.
Yeah, definitely. But you and I are entertained pretty regularly by the things that we see and the things that people are claiming to be fact rather than fiction and teaching as the truth. And it is sad and unfortunate that the industry is unregulated. But the upside to that is it means that people can share and teach things that are often cutting edge, that are new, that are novel approaches to things. But of course, the downside to that is people can also teach rubbish, which which does happen, of course. And I think both you and I have been to courses and conferences and things before where we've seen things where we think, wow, this is pretty bad. And it's not until that person gets on stage or until, unfortunately, people like us, everyone, goes and buys a ticket to that thing and spends our hard-earned dollars that we find out that maybe that thing wasn't, it was what it was all cracked up to be. So we do have to be careful.
Yeah, and so it is so important to be skeptical of everything, and really thoroughly research what the course is. Is it backed by evidence? Because there are some things, like you said, that may claim to be the latest and greatest approach and technique that yeah, it could be just a made up name, a promise of a quick fix, a guaranteed treatment approach that resolves all cases of shoulder pain or whatever that may be. Um, and so, yeah, it's one of those things that it unfortunately can attract people who may not understand the complexities of the human body, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially as a new graduate, it's very attractive, use that word again, to see the new bright, shiny thing, like the protocol, the system, the method, the recipe for solving, like you said, the one thing that will solve all shoulder presentations or the one thing that will solve all back pain. And obviously that's not possible. That's just not the reality. And so you do need to be very cautious of the gimmicks that people present, and there's some real telltale signs. People will use words like reset, as a classic one, like I'll reset the nervous system. We've talked about that before.
Hmm.
If someone's resetting my nervous system, I'm going to run away from that because that I should be in hospital. If someone resets my nervous system, I could die. So we want to stay away from those kind of gimmicky kind of phrases. And there's a lot of terms and phrases that people use that make the thing sound very attractive because it seems to simplify it. But as you and I go on about all the time in these episodes, the human body is far more complex than that. And so it requires a lot more understanding than press this spot, poke this thing, and the change happens.
Yeah, and if someone is ever saying something with 100% certainty about a specific approach, then that sort of you might and arm a little bit more and ask those questions. Why? What evidence is there to support this? What's the reasoning? What's the rationale? Ask more questions because you'll start to be able to poke some holes in different approaches. And, we teach a lot of different courses and there are a lot of things that we still don't know. We can come up with rationalized explanations embedded in evidence to support what we think we're doing and how it works. But there's this is always evolving and there's always more to know or more to understand. But yeah, I guess the point is not to have beware of absolute certainty with treatment approaches or modalities that guarantee a cure or a fix.
Yeah. And I think likewise, being cautious and aware of the gimmicky modalities and techniques, also be very conscious and cautious of the hype master, the person who's selling their thing, whatever it might be, with the energy and enthusiasm that can be very attractive again, especially to new graduates, but to other people as well. They're like, wow, this person's got so much energy about them. They must be really good. No, you can have very energetic, very excitable used car salesman that will convince you to buy the car that you shouldn't buy as well. And so the energy that people deliver their message with doesn't always correlate with the quality of that thing. So I watching social media even yesterday, I saw somebody presenting. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I sat back and thought, actually, no, I'm just getting sucked in by this person's energy. What they're saying didn't have any weight to it. What they were presenting didn't have any real clinical clout to it. It was just the way that it was being delivered. And while that energy sometimes makes the presenter a very engaging and good teacher, doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying or what they're sharing is of quality.
It kind of almost ties into our placebo episode. Like if you can really sell something, be so passionate about it and believe it so much, then the recipient of that must be like, oh, wow, like that makes a lot of sense.
Yep,
You know? And then that's that whole buy-in. And so having that real critical eye is important and yeah, try not to be sold
that's
too
right.
easily.
Absolutely. And on the topic of the presenters and teachers, this is something that often surprises people. We'll get asked in classes by students. They'll say, so what sort of training did you have to do to be able to teach these courses? Because what we're teaching is postgraduate, right? It's after they've qualified as a health practitioner. And sometimes they've already got other postgraduate formal qualifications, masters and PhDs and all sorts of things. And then they come and do the courses. So obviously what we're doing can very easily and potentially wrongly be put on a pedestal as something higher than those qualifications. So surely, Bo, our qualifications sit above all of that. But the reality is PD presenters don't have to have any qualifications. In fact, many of them may not even have a qualification equal to or above those people that they're training. And so this is often alarming and really surprising to a lot of people. They find out that they're spending money to come to courses like ours and others, where they find out that the teacher either doesn't have any teaching experience, doesn't have any teaching qualifications, and may or may not even have the background training that they themselves, as the student coming to the classroom, has. And this is the unfortunate side of it being an unregulated profession, is there's no overarching body that says, okay, you're allowed to teach that thing and you aren't. It is very much the Wild West in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, right? We can like teaching, you can know a lot about something, but not be a good teacher or not be a good presenter. And so being a good educator is really does take time and practice. And Shaun, both you and I have postgraduate qualifications in education. And so that is just it's a bit of a ticket in a way, but it also like the experience that you get, that takes time, and delivering educational courses, that's sort of where you get much better at it over a period of time. It's not something that you can just be good at your profession or good at your modality and then be a good educator. This is something that you and I reflect on so much. After each course, we might have a chat about the feedback and what things that we could do to improve. I spend so much time in PowerPoint just trying to make things more understandable, more deliverable. Nothing ever stays the same. It's always going to be evolving, and the more that we update and improve our knowledge, the better our ability to deliver it gets as well. So yeah, being an educator is it's a journey. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes experience, and so that's something that you should always look for in a professional development course is that, someone that is a good educator and not just a good clinician.
Yeah, 100%. That's right. And if anyone's read the book, The E-Myth, you'll know what we're talking about. Like the technician is how we all start, and a lot of people have this entrepreneurial kind of brainwave where they think they can also run a business. It's the same thing. Just because you can do the thing doesn't mean you can teach it, nor does it mean that you can run a business in that thing. A good technician is a good technician, and then if you have other skills, then you have the opportunity to do move into other things. You either develop the skills or some, if you're very fortunate, you naturally have some of those things, an inclination towards them, but it often takes a lot of time, like you said, and a lot of work. And so one of the things we do at ACE, like you mentioned, is like you and I have postgraduate teaching education experience and qualifications. And anyone who else that comes in helps with our courses, like many of our students will have met our assistant teachers. They all go through a very long, very rigorous, and arduous, some might say, program to be able to teach our content. And we don't necessarily ask for a qualification in teaching because the qualification doesn't even make you a good teacher. It means you can tick some boxes in university. But the experience, the ability to deliver an effective way, and the constant feedback cycle that we have with our assistant educators means that by the time they get to the classroom, not only do they know the content really well, they can deliver it in an equally powerful way, and so that our students all have a good experience. And that, I think, is where a good education company will invest a lot of their time, is building their teachers up to a point where what they're delivering has impact.
Yeah, and that's sort of how our program has evolved as well. Rather, we've found people that are curious, they're good clinicians, they've got a good level of baseline knowledge, and then it's about, okay, let's take that and see how you can deliver that information in a way that's engaging, it's captivating, and it makes sense. And so what we'll do is we'll set tasks for our educators, with not so much focus on the content. It's more focus on deliver this to us in an engaging, captivating way so that we can understand it. Or it might be, a way that explain it to me like I'm 10 years old. Make it more understandable, because it is, we might often get lost in delivering complex terminologies and complex topics, but everyone that's listening to this would have been in a classroom before and thought, well, that was way over my head. So reframing that to make it more understandable, and then someone goes, I get it. That makes sense now. And the way that makes sense to one person may not be the same for someone else. So it's really about how you deliver this information and not just the understanding of the content.
And again, everyone who does CPE, and that's, I think everybody who's listening to this probably will have seen a good teacher and had a good experience with that, or they've seen good content and had a good experience with that. And rarely do you get the two in the same place at the same time. And when you do, that's magic. That's a really impactful educational experience when you've got an engaging teacher who knows how to explain things in a way that you can connect with. And the information is also clinically relevant and things that you can grasp and take hold of and use immediately. And obviously, by that's always our goal with our courses, is to marry those two things together. That's why we're so hard on each other to make sure each course is the best it can be, and the experience that the students get is the best it can be. And hopefully our students will agree that that's what we're doing. But those two things is the goal. Like, that's the really hard thing to achieve. And I think this is where a lot of people will have that moment where they go, right, I'm a great technician. I can do this thing really, really well. I'm going to share it with some people, and then wonder why that's such a hard industry or profession to crack into. The CPE space, for those who are teaching inclined and want to get into this space, to be able to do it in a meaningful and continuous kind of way, it's difficult. Like, it took me years to build this thing that we've got now, and then with your help, it's become much bigger. But it takes a long time, and it does require both of those things being married together to have that effect. And I'm not trying to turn anyone off the idea. I think, if you want to be a teacher, get out there, share what you know, but you've got to work really hard at it to make it good for the student.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been to some really great professional development courses and conferences, and I can still remember those presenters and
Yeah.
how engaging they were, and that made for a really good experience for me. So it does leave lasting impressions, but also when we look at how we learn, learning is so much associated with emotion. And so if we don't have a good emotional experience, then, that we're less likely to take on that information as well. And so if it's an environment that's highly stressful, you've got to get your answers right, or you've got to do things a very certain, very specific way, that can be a bit harder to engage with as well. And so one of the things that we like to do is make it quite fun and enjoyable, and interactive. Obviously, some courses can be a little bit stressful at times, um, but at the end of the day, you want it to be a good experience, and you see that in the industry as well. If someone is looking for a professional development course, they'll ask others because it's other people's experience that probably has the most weight to why you would go and sign up for something. Like you might have an idea, "Oh, I think I want to do this course. Has anyone else had any experience with this provider?" And they go, "Yeah, either great experiences, more likely to join that course. Terrible experiences, very unlikely." So, yeah, that's pretty important. Is other people's experience, and using that to help with your decision making about attending a CPE course.
Yeah, that was my next point too, is like really look for those recommendations. And
Yeah,
Facebook groups are a great place to go, like professional Facebook groups where you go to and other health practitioners and say, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this course with XYZ. Has anyone done it? And then just sit back and see what the responses are. And then you can make a slightly more informed decision, can't you?
yeah,
Yeah. But the challenge that we'll have a lot of the time now that a lot of the technologies around digital marketing are very available and very user friendly is things that aren't of great quality can still be presented in a very high quality way in the way that they're presented and marketed. So be a little bit cautious about when you click on a video and it's fast moving, there's music and it's exciting. You think this looks amazing. The editing's there and it looks very professional. What's behind that? Is it just some good editing? Or is it some good quality education as well? And I'm saying this knowing that a lot of our videos are like that because we want to engage people, right? And I just hope that our reputation also underpins the fact that you're going to get a good experience. But it'd be very easy to just look for, like I said before, the brightest, shiniest thing and go, that must be the best. But it's just not always the case.
yeah. Gadgets, tools, promises,
Yep.
all sorts of things. But I mean, back to your point before about the Facebook groups, I think even, if you're asking about people's experience, I think go one step further and say, what specifically was it about that course that you enjoyed or you didn't enjoy? Or that, you can drill down on that a little bit more. And so, that obviously in combination with even you can contact the course provider, like people contact us all the time over the phone and have a chat about the course, what's involved, what they'll get out of it, what it is and what it isn't. So yeah, if you can approach the course provider and have an open and honest chat with them, I think that's really important. You'll get a pretty good sense of the quality of the course, or at least the presenters, if you do that.
Good point. And you're right, being able to speak to the presenter themselves, not someone who works for them and just is answering, fielding questions, but someone who can actually tell you the details about what you're going to be buying is important. And also be very aware of policies around cancellations and the way that the tickets work. Like if I buy this ticket now, can I cancel it? And when can I cancel it? How much money do I get back? And we'll often see people on social media and other places complaining about different courses they've signed up for because they found out after the fact that when they wanted a refund, they wouldn't get that, or they would only get so much based on the fact that they, expected one thing and got something else. So it is buyer beware, like, and everyone's trying to run a business, so you have to be conscious of the fact that you just can't, buy things and get money back whenever you want. But beware of what the requirements are of you, and be willing to meet those requirements and only accept a spot in that course if it is suitable for you. So do your homework. It's if you were going to study a university course, you would do your homework. It's no different if you're doing a CPE course.
Do you know another thing that always I find really interesting, because I love getting the feedback about different components of a course, and Pre-course material, I think for me personally, I think that's highly valuable because it gives you robust understanding, or at least foundational understanding of what is involved in the course. And that helps to scaffold your learning rather than having a big chunk of information all delivered in 1 day or 2 days. At least with pre-course learning, you can start to build on your knowledge and understanding of the key underpinning principles before you get to the course. And then you can build on that even more. It allows you an opportunity to ask really good questions as well. And so when people say, oh, I don't like pre-course, I don't like online learning material, well, that's is okay. But it will build more understanding and more knowledge over a longer period of time rather than cramming it into 1 day. Because that is a challenge with courses as well, is that we do try to fit as much as we can into 1 or 2 days or 3 days. And it can be a lot to take in. And so I think when you're looking for professional development courses, I think it is a good part of a course to have some pre-course, have a good, robust and comprehensive practical course, and then even some post-course material as well. And also the opportunity to be able to go back and review that material. So, understanding if there's an expiry date, how long does that last for? These are all factors to consider. But and even I think if you can get in contact with the provider and see if there's any additional resources that may be available to them, such as research articles, videos, whatever that may be. I think that really helps to build on your knowledge that little bit extra. Because I know that in our courses, like for example, a dry needling course, there might be 50 research articles presented in that course, and that's a lot to take in. But having the ability to be able to go back and review some of those articles over time, that can build a better understanding of the technique or the approach or the pathophysiology or whatever it may be.
That's a really good point. And historically, for me, having seen our courses in the early days when we didn't have pre-course online learning programs or modules, students would come in and they'd have a great experience, like they had a good experience in the classroom. And often I'd get follow-up questions the week after via email and phone calls and things, or I'd see them again. They go, oh, I actually meant to ask you these things. And now we get less of that because I think they're asking the questions when they're in the course, because all the things that would prompt the questions happen before you even turn up. Then you walk into the classroom, you consolidate the information, you learn the skills, you get the clinical context. And then in the process of all of those cogs turning in your brain, the questions come out and you ask them to us face to face. We can answer them, and then away you go. And so you're right, it's this scaffolding thing. We give them the foundation first with the online learning or the modules they have to read through, and then they come into the training, and then there's resources to support afterwards. Now, obviously, we've got a few courses that are in that way, and pretty much all of our courses are heading in that direction because we see the value in this. But you made a good point before. Not everybody's up for online learning. Not everybody's up for having to do things before they turn up on the day. Some people just want to buy the ticket, turn up, spend a day learning, collaborating with other people, and then leave. And that's fine. There's opportunities for that. But in our experience, people get a lot more out of it. And it's the outcome that we're always aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah, and to give you an example, I think this was a big learning experience for me and you and ACE in general. Originally we had a course called the Neuro Assessment course, and really fun course to teach. A lot of interesting cases and terminology. But the terminology when we get to the course on the practical day, you could see people sit back in their chair and go, what is he talking about? I've never heard these words before. And so we took that course off the shelf. We built it up into a bigger course, a more comprehensive course, added pre-course material and post-course material. People come to the course now and they understand it a lot more. They've heard these terms before. In fact, many people say, I really enjoyed that pre-course material. It made a lot of sense. And so building it up like that, and then it helps with the practical day where you can actually take the time to grasp those skills, ask those questions, be able to apply some of that knowledge into case scenarios, you're more likely to use it in clinical practice and be better at it. And then, having post-course material from there. So much larger course now, but more digestible.
That's right. Yeah, and it's as a consumer of this information, I think that's what you're aiming for, right? Like it's nice to be able to go, oh, that's a good price, and it's just 1 or 2 days. That's attractive, right? Like you can go and buy something that's cheap and easy, or you can buy something that costs a little bit more and it's better and it will last you. Like, which it comes down to buying cars, furniture, devices, everything's the same. You get what you pay for. And we've always tried to push with our courses bigger, better, more quality, more foundational support underneath it, more resources on top of it. The whole thing gets bigger and bigger all the time because we want better outcomes. And so again, buy beware. What are you actually getting with what you're spending your money on? And we every day I thank the students at the end of the class. Thank you so much for coming along and investing your time and effort and come along here. This is my whole life. It's Bo's whole life. It's what we do. All of our time and effort pretty much goes into doing this stuff, and we take that really seriously. And so your experience is the tick that we look for after doing all of these things that we do. So that's a difference, right? When you've got someone who might be doing a little bit of PD on the side, they might be brilliant at that one thing, but always be careful, be cautious about what you're shopping for and what you're going to get at the end of the day. Is it going to give you the tick that you are looking for? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. And sometimes you'll make some bad decisions. I certainly have. And over the years, bought some things I shouldn't have bought. It wasn't what I thought it was. And then we learn from that. But yeah, our intention is always to provide the best outcome for the person in the course.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's
Mm.
a massive focus. I mean, we take it all so seriously because it means a lot to us, that it means a lot to other people as well. So, like you
Awesome.
said, that anyone that comes to these courses or is listening to this, we really do appreciate it, and we appreciate feedback, good or bad, because any constructive feedback, we actually do use it to think about ways that we could do things differently or improve on our content or even our delivery.
That's right. And look, in no way, shape, or form was this episode designed to be an ad for our courses, because we actually want other presenters out there. We want other companies providing education. We have no interest in teaching a lot of different things that exist within the health sphere, and nor do we have the expertise or experience to do it well. So we want to do our thing really well. We want others to do their thing really well. And that's the best way that we can support our health community. So, yeah, I hope you've all taken this information and walk away with it and go, right, I'm going to make informed decisions, and then that will hopefully mean that the quality presenters out there, the quality companies out there providing this stuff will continue to exist and continue to provide good quality education for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree.
Great. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you on the next one.
Cheers.